Vor 2 Jahren war ich zum ersten Mal live bei einer Europameisterschaft im Gewichtheben. Das war damals 2022 in Tirana in Albanien. Da war ich exklusiv für den Weightlifting Shop, um Content zu machen von den gesponserten Athleten, um Gespräche zu führen mit den Athleten. Und da habe ich auch zum ersten Mal Nat Arem getroffen. Nat ist der Gründer und Geschäftsführer von Hookgrip. Und ich habe mich mit Nat zwischen den Competitions mal hingesetzt und mich ein bisschen unterhalten. Wir haben uns über ganz verschiedene Themen unterhalten, über Content im Gewichtheben, über die Entwicklung, die mediale Entwicklung des internationalen Gewichtheben. Unter anderem auch, warum er zuerst eine CrossFit Games Competition begleitet hat, bevor er überhaupt zum Gewichtheben kam. Also seid gespannt, über was für Themen wir uns hier unterhalten. Das Video ist auf Englisch, geht eine knappe Stunde. Viel Spaß dabei.
When I arrived here in Tirana, I obviously knew Gregor from ATG because he's a German.
Mm-hmm.
I knew your brand, but I didn't know, and I think that's what most of the Germans in our audience didn't know, who's behind the brand Hookgrip.
Mm-hmm.
So, is Hookgrip a one-man show, or is it like you founded it and then it kind of grew into this big business?
Well, I did found it, so yeah. And for a period of time, I was the only one taking media. But at this point, it's definitely not one person. It's a bunch of people that you know work with me, work for me. Depends on the person. Sometimes it's actually like a partnership, sort of. By the way, I should apologize to the audience. I can't talk very well because I have a metal thing in my mouth. So if anyone who's not German is watching and hears me talking weird, that's why.
Okay.
But yeah, there's people who help. I have employees back at home in our warehouse, you know, shipping orders and responding to emails and doing all that, you know, normal store stuff.
Yep.
And here I have Pablo from Spain helping me with photos and videos.
Yeah.
And depending on the meet, I mean, I have other people who have helped me. I mean, I actually have a spreadsheet that says all of the meets we've shot. And, you know, I have all sorts of like data on there, like how many videos we took, how many photos we took, how much,
show me that.
how many terabytes it is.
Yeah. We're gonna get into this.
Well, I could show the audience now. Yeah, I mean, it's just a Google sheet.
Yeah.
But on that, I also have who the person was who actually was doing it.
Okay.
And if you count it up, it's like 20 people who have in some way taken media for Hookgrip.
Okay.
Now, some of them, it's like, you know, they shot one meet and it was like 3 sessions or something, you know, minimal. But there's a lot of people who have done a lot of work for us, and yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, Hookgrip, obviously, in YouTube, not in recent years, but in the years prior, YouTube was a big thing for you, and we know you, I guess all the German listeners and watchers know you from Instagram because you got this big Instagram account. But Hookgrip isn't only a media company. What's the other part?
I mean, you know, it's like media, and then, you know, we sell products and stuff like that.
Or let
too.
me reframe that question. Which one was the first? So did it start out with the media or with the products?
I mean, yeah, it started with the media. The first meet I went to was 2011 World Championship in Paris. And frankly, I had never been to a weightlifting meet of any kind before that. I'd never been to US Nationals. I'd never been to American Open. I'd never been to even a local meet.
Okay.
Actually, to be fair, I did actually stop by a local meet in the US, but I was literally there for like under 5 minutes because I was actually, it was at a CrossFit gym, and I was picking up some of my stuff from there.
Okay.
So I literally was like, oh, a meet, what is this? And this was in maybe like June of 2010 when I saw that local meet.
So this was the first introduction into Olympic weightlifting for you?
That meet?
That
or
meet in the CrossFit box?
No. I had, it was really in 2009.
Okay.
I was living in the Cayman Islands, and I was just looking for a gym. And I just Googled, you know, the main island there is called Grand Cayman. So I Googled Grand Cayman Gym, and like 2 or 3 Globo Gym style places popped up. And then one that popped up was called CrossFit Cayman. And
in 2009?
In 2009, yeah. They had just opened. But it was a guy named Matt and Tamara, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but couple that started it, and they got into CrossFit early. And when they started it, it was kind of when I Googled it, I didn't realize this at the time, but they were only a few months old.
Yeah.
And so I just got kind of lucky that when I,
Sorry.
when I Googled it, it existed, and I just read about it. And before that Google search, I had never heard of CrossFit.
Okay.
So I really only found CrossFit because I was in a small community of, about maybe 40 to 50,000 people are on Grand Cayman. And when it's a small community, there's only a few gyms because it's not big.
Yep.
And so that was really how I found CrossFit. And then at CrossFit Cayman was where I was introduced to the lifts, and obviously not at any sort of professional level, just learning even what they were, I guess. And then, went from there.
Rest is history. Were you hooked right from the start? Because I know guys, and I started off CrossFit, and there's always those guys who are doing well from the start in gymnastics. There are those guys who are pretty good in endurance, and there are those guys who are from the start pretty good at lifting.
Yes and no. I would say from the start I was hooked on like barbell movements.
Okay.
But it wasn't necessarily hooked on the sport of weightlifting. At the very beginning, I was like, deadlifts are cool, squats are cool, this is blah, blah, blah. And I had always gone to the gym as a kid, and I had played sports as a kid, but I had never been introduced to Olympic weightlifting as a kid. Like
Okay.
when I was, 12 and starting, going to a gym and stuff like that, I was never introduced to Olympic weightlifting. But I had done some of that other stuff as a kid. I'd done deadlifts as a kid. Not a kid, but as like a 15-year-old, I had done deadlifts and stuff like that. But anyway, I would say that really my first thought was actually to make a site or brand related to CrossFit. And what happened was not to get too into it because, who cares, but basically I decided for a variety of reasons that CrossFit wasn't the right thing business-wise to make a brand and site about.
Because there were already established brands?
No, it's more complicated, but basically, I was a volunteer at the 2011 CrossFit Games.
Oh, cool.
So I was living in Vegas at this time. No, just for the audience, I've lived in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Because my prior work before Hookgrip was like online marketing.
Okay.
And so I could really work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so I worked with a couple business partners in a bunch of different places. But I volunteered at the CrossFit Games, and just the vibe I got and the discussions I had with people from CrossFit there made me think that it was going to be very not friendly to like any sort of outside,
like third-party stuff, right?
Yeah, they now it's a little bit different because CrossFit's under a different ownership now. But the CrossFit of 2011, I could tell for, once again, this is a whole different discussion, but I could tell for a lot of reasons that it was going to blow up. And the thing was that I had gotten more and more into weightlifting in 2010. I attempted to watch the 2010 World Championships in Turkey.
Yep.
And I really couldn't figure out how to watch it. Now, maybe I just didn't know how to pirate a Eurosport stream, blah, blah. It's maybe just a lack of, because, to follow weightlifting for most of these years, you kind of have to be a bit of an internet detective to figure out how to watch all the live streams.
Yeah.
So it's possible that I just didn't know how to find weightlifting, streams at the time.
I guess at that time it was especially hard in the US because during that time there was, in Europe at least, there was Eurosport, and Eurosport was still streaming it on TV.
Right.
So, but was there a counterpart in the US, like
No.
ESPN or something?
No, ESPN has done it some years, but in 2010, absolutely not,
Okay.
for sure. So basically, I couldn't follow the worlds, and it was kind of annoying to me. And so that was actually the experience of trying to follow what was going on whatsoever in Turkey was what drove me to say, maybe I should do something related to weightlifting. And then the next summer was the 2011 CrossFit Games, where I was still kind of debating, thinking, what should I do? Because I had basically decided to stop working with my business partners in the internet marketing stuff.
So were you like a freelancer, or were you employed at this company?
Well, no, I was one of the owners.
Okay.
But, so I was keeping my ownership, but
Okay.
I basically had told and this is, once again, this is about a 15-minute explanation as to why.
No, we don't have to get into
we
it.
don't have to get into the details of why. But anyway, like I had decided to stop actively working. So essentially keep my ownership, but not essentially get rid of my salary. I can't say that well.
Yeah.
And then, anyway. Yeah. So I was trying to decide, do I want to do this, that? I kind of had about 5 different ideas as to what I would potentially do. And I kind of decided, okay, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to go to 2011 Worlds. It's in Paris. It's not that far.
Was it
it's easy.
prior to the games or after the games?
I believe I booked my flight to Worlds like within a week or 2 after the games.
Okay.
Because the CrossFit Games convinced me, all right, I should do this. But most likely, even if I had decided, okay, I'm going to do something related to CrossFit, I think even then I still would have gone because I still wanted to see it,
Just
if nothing
to
else.
experience it live,
Yeah.
at least once. Okay.
Yeah, I could look up my my flight receipt and let you know later, but yeah.
You got all this data? Like
Well,
even the seat of the flight you got to the
Of course,
2011?
I have an email account. We're about to find out. Anyway, ask me something else. I can listen and talk.
Yeah, well, tell us about your first experience at the Worlds in Paris and how this event was actually related to your conviction to start Hookgrip.
I bought the ticket to Paris on August 18th, 2011.
He's got everything. He's got everything.
August 18th, 2011. So I bought it like 3 weeks after the CrossFit Games.
Crazy.
So,
Cool.
I'm glad I remembered that properly
Just
because
for the
if I
audience, we're talking about 2011. So
11 years ago.
the 11 games was the first time Rich Froning actually won the games, right?
Yeah.
Or was it 2010 he got second?
Yeah, 2010 he got second.
Crazy.
You know
Probably
what's funny?
some of the guys in the audience don't even know Rich Froning because he's like
too
an old
old.
guy.
Well, I would think they would know him just because he's been winning
Yeah.
the affiliate cup almost every
He's
year.
still going team, yeah, right.
But actually, I have an interesting picture from the 2011 games where I was sitting in an empty arena, and like the, whatever you call the main arena for the CrossFit, like the stadium, I guess.
The tennis stadium.
Yeah, tennis stadium. And this was before Rich Froning was as famous as he was. I mean, he was still famous, but like it was me, and then like 2 rows ahead of me, he was just sitting there. No one was bothering him. And I was just sitting there on my phone, just waiting. It was in between events, and they had set up the rope climb.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there watching. Not watching, but he's sitting there looking at the ropes. And for people who don't know, like he had failed on the ropes the year before, and that was the reason he would have won in 2010 if he knew how to climb ropes.
Absolutely.
So I have this picture where I was just sitting right behind him, maybe creepily, I don't know. But like I just took a picture of him looking at the ropes.
Cool.
So anyway, I have that. But yeah, so and
Now
to
the
be
Worlds
honest,
in
I'm
Paris.
still a CrossFit fan.
Yeah.
Like I'm not one of these weightlifting people who is like, oh, weightlifting's so superior, CrossFit's stupid, blah, blah, blah. No, like, I think that CrossFit is great. Now, I do have some criticisms of it, but, like, don't have to get into all of it.
But actually, I guess it's the same for the US, but also in Germany, the attention of CrossFit brought more and more people to weightlifting, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people here who, like, this is the biggest Dutch team I have ever seen at Europeans. And,
Okay.
this is now I think it's my 9th or I think it's my 9th Euros, but you know, it's been 10 years now that I've been doing Euros, and I've never seen a Dutch team nearly this big. And they actually all basically bought their media from me here.
Yep.
And whenever I go to their page to like send them the link, basically their Instagram page, I'm just like, they're like all CrossFitters. They're you know, their bio says like, you know, Noco, like all the basically, you know,
Brands.
you know, the CrossFit brands, and
Yeah.
like stuff like, you know, things like, oh, you know, 8th fittest woman in Europe, blah, you know, like stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I mean,
Cool.
the reason that sort of stuff is happening is because of CrossFit. So it's cool. I mean, I love what CrossFit does for weightlifting. If anything, CrossFit's what brought me into weightlifting. So how could I tell someone else who's into weightlifting because of CrossFit that they're like inferior? It would be
In
stupid.
Germany,
yeah.
we also see the trend of a lot of people doing CrossFit now, competing in teams in the German Bundesliga, as you know, and it's really cool to see because this sport needs some, let's say, some fresh air. That's what I see.
I mean, the sport has, in my opinion, has gotten some, like a good amount of boost
Yep.
from all the CrossFit participation, but has more or less squandered most of it because of how it's managed at the highest like levels. Like they don't do what they should be doing to really promote that. Now, that's not to say everyone high up in the IWF, high up in the EWF, that's not to say they're all screwing up,
Yeah.
because some people do come up and tell me something that really makes a lot of sense, but then they tell me, oh, this person did this, this person did that. There's, put it this way, the sport hasn't capitalized the way it should on all of the interest that CrossFit has brought, but just out of, I don't know if dumb luck's the right word, but just out of like, because I couldn't even avoid getting some of the interest that CrossFit has brought, it has helped the sport to grow. And
Yeah.
if nothing else, you know, even if the people at the top of the sport don't handle it maybe the way that I would, you know, just the fact that CrossFit as a involvement in weightlifting has allowed a company like ours to exist,
Yeah.
and other companies as well, to help, you know, try to drive more interest in weightlifting. I mean, even if that's the only thing, it's definitely helpful.
I mean, now that's a good point. So to come back to your first World Championship. So you are there at your first World Championship. Hookgrip didn't exist at that point, right?
I had done a few things. So this is like another thing that's funny.
Because
Technically, the first meet that I shot anything at was the 2011 CrossFit Games.
Okay.
So I shot videos there, not photos, and I actually used like a really old slow-mo camera.
Cool.
Oh, it's old now. At the time, I guess it wasn't old. And I shot some stuff that, like, one of the videos I shot actually went fairly viral. It's this video of Camille doing slow motion muscle ups.
Okay.
And what's funny is like, I mean, it's got like over 1 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And what's funny
Is it on Hookgrip or on CrossFit?
No, it's on the first. Well, it's not the first video, but it's one of the. But as in general, the first few videos on the Hookgrip YouTube
Cool.
are from the 2011 CrossFit Games, and one of them is that Camille video.
Okay.
And more people, for a long time, more people in CrossFit who I maybe, you know, they said, oh, what do you do? Blah, blah, and I would say, I do this thing. And they'd be like, oh, I haven't heard of it. That's cool. You do like weightlifting stuff? I'd be like, well, maybe you haven't seen it, but have you ever seen that slow-mo Camille muscle-up thing? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, I saw that. Like, our coach showed us to like help us learn how to do a muscle-up, blah, blah, blah.
Actually,
So like more, for a long time, I mean, maybe until even as recently as like 3 years ago, I would say the average CrossFitter was more likely to know that video than any Hookgrip weightlifting video.
Yeah.
Which was nutty. But so that was technically the first meet. But I guess technically Hookgrip, quote, existed when I went to 2011 Worlds.
Yeah.
But all I had really done was put up a few videos on YouTube. I had registered some names, like I had the Twitter name and the .com, like hookgrip.com, stuff like that. But I hadn't really done too much.
Is Hookgrip also a registered trademark right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, the way the trademark works, though, is you have like different categories of things.
It's like national and international and stuff, right?
No, I mean category. Like for instance, you can have like a trademark for apparel, or a trademark for let's say news or something like that.
Yeah.
So one thing that's kind of annoying is that another guy. Now this is, you know, some people tell me after I tell them this, they're like, "Oh, someone was trying to like profit off of your brand," which isn't what happened. But before I even went to the 2011 Worlds in Paris, another guy who was into CrossFit, I guess, registered the trademark for apparel for Hookgrip.
Oh, okay.
Now, what I don't know is, did he see my videos from the 2011 games and think, oh, that's a good name for a CrossFit brand? Maybe. I don't really know. But he registered the trademark, so that's actually why you will not find any shirt or sweatshirt or anything that I make that says Hookgrip on it. I can't write the word Hookgrip on apparel.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
That's why everything's like HKGRP, HG, stuff like that.
So this trademark still exists, and he still owns it, but he doesn't sell apparel under this name?
No, this guy, I think at this point, this guy more or less is hoping that someday I will pay him a lot of money for it. But the thing is like, it's not really relevant. Like, the thing that's relevant, I would say, is like our logo, you know. But, you know, he doesn't own our logo. I have a trademark for our logo, and I have a trademark for using the term Hookgrip for like weightlifting news and media and stuff like that. But technically, I don't have the trademark for Hookgrip. Now, you know, the trademark decision making and everything could be a long discussion as well. But the thing about it is that I initially I opposed his trademark, like legally. Like, I basically hired a lawyer to oppose his trademark. So the problem was that I was most likely going to lose if we went to court over it with the way the US system works. The reason is that he had technically put up apparel that said Hookgrip on it before I did.
Okay.
And the way it works in the US is first use in commerce is going to get you a trademark most of the time.
Okay.
Now, put it this way, I could have essentially made him incur a lot of legal fees by making him go through the process. But what we eventually decided was, because basically, it's a long story, but like eventually what we actually have like a signed agreement between myself or Hookgrip and that other guy. It basically says what we can do and what they can do, and that what I can do. Like, for instance, I can put it on a weightlifting belt. That's why it says Hookgrip on our belts. Since
it's technically not apparel,
right? Yeah.
Like, okay.
So like I can put it on something like a strap.
Okay.
So it can be something you wear, but it has to be weightlifting specific.
Yep. Okay.
I can't put it on like a shirt. So.
Okay. Fine.
Anyway, yeah. So that's an interesting side note.
Yeah, we can go into a bunch of rabbit holes. I'm finding out that it's cool. But what was your first? So you, when you started off, you didn't quite actually know where this is gonna go and stuff, but your intention was to bring more attention to weightlifting through your content on YouTube, right? Was this the first intention, or was it actually building a brand around it and then sell apparel and sell weightlifting belts and stuff?
No, so I would say the initial thought process was, I can't seem to follow the 2010 Worlds very well. So I was like, you know what? Like, I can only do so much as one person, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going to meets and putting up info on social media about that day to at least make it possible to find more information and media about what happened. Now, you know, looking back on it now, and what I was doing at the very start and what happens now at a weightlifting meet that's big, obviously what I was doing was like almost nothing. But the thing is, it's like when you're competing against literally zero, anything is like incredible. But when you're competing against people that are high quality media, a bunch of cameras, bunch of videos, whole bunch of people running around, getting different angles, doing like reels and this and that. And, what I was doing was nothing. But what I did was I just went to meets and just started putting up photos. And
even just photos, not even video.
Yeah, so actually 2011 Worlds was the first meet, but it was 2014 Arnold. And so that would have been March 2014. That would have been the first meet that I shot video.
Cool.
So it was like, 2.5 years of only photo. And there was a reason for that, which was mainly to do with I was trying to do something that didn't really exist. And I wanted to do something, I've always been kind of the opinion that I want to only do high quality stuff. And the problem was that at the time there really wasn't like really high quality digital video stuff that was small. It was all big. And so I was just like, you know what, I can, but there were good full frame digital sports, DSLRs. So I essentially was like, I'm going to go down the road of high quality, even if it's not a video. I'll start with this and eventually get into video. But also, social media wasn't as video dominant at the time because phones were still new, like smartphones were still newer. And you gotta remember, like the iPhone didn't come out till like 2007. And I'm talking about
2011. 3G was probably the fastest, and the data contracts were like pretty expensive, I guess. So.
Exactly. So, like social media hadn't really started to promote video. I mean, literally on Instagram at that time, you couldn't even post a video. And then at one point, I don't remember.
15 seconds, I guess.
Yeah, at one point it was 15 seconds, and then
1 minute, and
now you can do
everything
longer stuff on something like IGTV. But like, you can. A lot of it had to do with what the smartphones could handle, what people were tending to consume, what I could shoot well. Now, I do wish I had gotten into video a little bit earlier, but I don't really regret what I did at the very, very start. But I think if I'd done it maybe like a year earlier, it would have been a smart move. But anyway, it is what it is. So, but I still have a pretty big archive of media at this point.
Yeah, I know. 200
terabytes at this point.
200 terabytes.
Yeah. Or more now.
How were you recognized at those first meets? Like you were this guy from America. Suddenly you were here taking photos and putting them on social media. And there's this IWF blog. How did they recognize you? Were they welcoming? Were they like, "Wow, what's this guy doing with our sport?" Were they looking into it?
Okay, so in Paris in 2011, I didn't get a media pass.
So we're sitting in the audience?
Yeah, I just bought the ticket for the whole week.
Okay.
And by the way, I have the receipt for that in here too, if you want to see it. But I bought a ticket for the whole week, and it was just a wristband, And so I just sat in the audience, and as looking back on it, actually that was good because that meet was like really tight on the sides.
Actually, I see you. So the last days, I saw you in the audience, sitting in the audience with your camera, right?
Well, that's because Pablo's shooting the normal film video.
Makes sense.
So I'm getting like a second angle.
But you're also putting up your angle from the audience, right?
That's mainly for speed. Because like when someone like Nino does a world record, there's going to be videos on
immediately
Instagram fast.
Yeah.
And even me pulling the card out, putting it on my phone,
it's too slow.
Editing it, posting it. I still wasn't by any means the first to put up a video of Nino doing the 217, but like just being able to get up a video in the first half an hour or so after it happens, that's important because if you don't get that up, like if I put up that video today, way worse engagement because everyone wants everyone who's a fan of Nino wants to share that video right after they see it. And
so do you think we put our recap reel, we put it up like this morning? And
it will never be as popular. I mean, it'll be popular, but yeah.
It'll popular. But it's an other kind of content piece, I guess. It's like a recap reel transporting those emotions. It's not just the lift. So I think it's not that important that it's out there like between the first half of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on what you're going for.
Absolutely.
Is your goal to get the most engagement?
No.
It's not the right idea. If your goal is to just do a certain type of content and you want something unique that's different, blah, blah, that maybe Nino will appreciate, maybe fans of his will appreciate, I mean, then, then it's kind of like
I guess our goal here is just to capture basically in 1 minute the impressions this athlete had during his competitions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about the results,
right.
It's about a little bit also behind the scenes and stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, something like that, even if you wanted to, you couldn't put it up
way faster. I know.
20 minutes later. And
I know.
It's also not going to get the same, even if you could get it up, 10 minutes later, it's still not going to be the same because people have attention spans and people, like you'll notice with that Nino, I put up a Nino 217 from the audience. I always trim the start of the video to right as they're about to lift because someone who's scrolling through, just going through reels, whatever. If something doesn't happen right away, they'll be like, boom, next one.
Absolutely.
Now I'll put up after the lift. I think I included in the range of like 8 seconds of like, celebrating or whatever, but which I think is okay, but like I would never ever I would never start my video with him like chalking up.
Yep.
It's too slow for this stuff. So
yeah, when the goal is to get as much attention and engagement as possible, it's not a good idea. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So people just want to see the lift, see some celebration.
Yeah, I know.
And this and that. So but like I'll put up the slow-mo video of Nino at some point, tomorrow, next day, whatever. It's just whenever I get around to it. I would have done it last night. I just didn't have time. So, anyway. But yeah, it's
let's come back for a second to the history of Hookgrip. So
okay.
Yeah. You started off with this media thing, didn't quite know where this was going, and then 1 year went by, 2 years went by, and there you were with this big YouTube account and this big social media presence doing your stuff, and now what's the approach? What's your daily business besides of going to weightlifting competitions now look like? What are you doing? Is it product development? Are you also involved in the fulfillment side of things?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not the one putting the stuff into bags.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm essentially in charge of the warehouse where we're doing that, and so I'm kind of directing.
Which also
that to a
has
degree.
a full-blown weightlifting platform. No, you got one weightlifting platform, but how many bars?
I've also loaned a bunch out because I have too many, but probably like 20 bars, something like that.
Okay, so 20 bars for
and
one platform.
One platform, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, I have even more if you count the ones that are like collectibles. Like I have 2 bars that were from the London Olympics.
Cool.
And I have like full sets of plates from those Olympics too, stuff like that.
Okay.
But
so back to your daily business.
Yeah, daily business is, I would say I spend about 70% of my time on stuff related in some way to the store. And that might be editing new product pictures, fixing something in the warehouse, talking about how we're going to make this product a little differently, because we make a lot of stuff in-house now. And so maybe doing some tests on one of the machines to see if it can make this the way we want it to be made. Like,
interesting.
like most of the time is that, and then, but yeah, new product development. And then the other thing I'm working on that should be a pretty cool thing is I'm working on basically a new weightlifting kind of like database site.
Okay.
Like a big like historical database of weightlifting results, and kind of a better way for us to distribute media to people. So I've been spending a lot of time the last roughly 4 months working on that. And after we get off camera, I could actually show it to you. It's on my laptop.
Cool.
But I spent a lot of time on that.
Will this be a database where you put all your 200 terabytes of stuff? Do you plan to make all those lifts available for like an athlete you followed like since 2013?
I do plan on putting up the media essentially from every meet that we went to.
Crazy.
However, it will be not the 200 terabytes because it'll be, edited, watermarked, and shrunk for web, sort of.
Compressed,
Putting up the whole thing would be pointless. But yeah, we'll put up essentially all of our media. There will be, this isn't all like 100% like set in stone, but most likely it will be a bit of like a freemium model where, there will be like different levels, like,
that would be my next question. Is it non-profit? Is it like premium or a subscription base or?
Put it this way, there's no real
you put in a lot of hard work to get to this database of media, so everyone would understand.
Well, first of all, I don't ever apologize for like charging for something that. No. And everyone has the right to not buy something. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine for. I don't get offended if someone doesn't buy something from us. Like that would be weird. But everyone has the right to buy or not buy whatever they see fit, which is fine. But there's no reason to make it quote non-profit because it's like what's the upside and what's like the downside and whatever. But it will be, put it this way, there will be a lot of very interesting data and photos and videos and stuff like that available for free on it. But there will also be more interesting stuff available not for free. Cool. So it's like, that's kind of, and going back to my pre-Hookgrip days, that was one of the websites that I ran, was a site that ran on a freemium model. And it's good because it kind of, people who don't want to pay, who just want something basic, can not pay and get something more basic. It's almost the same as it is now. Like Hookgrip exists now almost as like a freemium model where I give away a lot of photos with a watermark for free.
Yep.
There's tens of or hundreds of thousands of them available for download also for free. And by download, I mean like the actual like AWS data costs is, whatever. But, if someone wants, let's say like a full resolution on watermarked, 50 megapixel, Sony A1 image. Yep. All right, they can pay for it. And if someone wants
fine.
The lower res watermark, they can not pay for it. And also those are a lot slower because of how I do the processing for that. I have a company that helps me essentially crop and watermark the photos, and I pay their lowest rate.
Yep.
Because I get the slowest turnaround.
Yep.
And so the people that are getting them for free, I don't think they can really complain if it takes 6 months for me to put them up because it's free. So, But yeah, no, it'll be like a freemium model, but it will have a lot of really cool stuff on it. I have a lot of ideas for it. It's going to be most likely later this summer. I'll do like a soft launch, and by that I mean it will actually be online. Right now, it's really only running on my computer and the developer's computer as like a local, web server. And by soft launch, I mean it will be online, a place that some people can access, probably password protected, just for
like the beta testing.
Yeah, I'll send it to like 50 people. Tell them if they find bugs, send them to me. Use it, look it up, tell me what their feedback is, stuff like that, and then. Maybe in the fall sometime, I will do something where the general public could get on it. But it's like a multi-year project to get everything into it that I want to get into it. But it'll be cool, and it'll also be neat because it's something that really no one else can do. And I'm even talking like IWF, EWF, USAW, German Federation, all the.
And this is because you've put in the work the last 10 years gathering all that unique data?
Well, there's other reasons too, which is that, let's say you're the EWF. Well, you're not going to put up a site that has like Asian weightlifting results.
Yep.
And let's say you're the IWF. You're not going to put up US nationals and other nationals. Like, I'm planning on collecting as much data as I can to put it on the site. And by the way, things that get donated to me, like let's say some federation says, oh, here's 30 years of our natural results. That won't go behind a paywall.
Okay, cool.
Because anything that gets given to us won't. Because to me, that's messed up. I would never paywall something like that.
Yep.
The things that will get paywalled are, like, for example, let's say I put up 50 photos of someone's snatch from Europeans in 2014 or something like that. Like, the free version might be like 1 in 5 shots will be there. And like the paid version will be all of them. Mm-hmm. So something that we invested in, that we put a lot of money and effort and time and everything into, that would be the sort of thing that we would possibly paywall. And I haven't decided, is it 1 in 5? Is it this? Are we paywalling this, doing that, blah, blah, blah. But like the meet results and athlete profile pages for essentially, quote, donated data would definitely be free. If some federation was like, oh, we'll give it to you, but we'll charge you for it, well, maybe it won't be free. It depends,
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be cool. And then I'm trying to remember what else. There was something else I wanted to say, but yeah, I don't remember exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that will be very interesting on that site, I think. And
So-
if nothing else, it'll be a good way for us to distribute the data. That's like a big thing for me, because the way we do it right now is like very inefficient and not user friendly. And that's mainly because there isn't a system out there that, in my opinion, works how I want it to. So more or less, I'm making the system that I want.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds really exciting. Not only for me personally, but I guess also for the whole audience who is watching this right now.
I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
So it's not just the media necessarily that I have. I have a lot of old results.
Yeah.
And the reason is I've been collecting weightlifting related things for a long time now. And like, I have some things like, there was a magazine in the US called Strength and Health, which was like the place to go to get weightlifting news and results in like basically from about the 30s to the 80s. So for like a 50-year run. And I have a full set.
Cool.
And
do you know the German magazine called Athletic? It's actually the oldest printed strength sports magazine in Germany. I think it also exists like for over 100 years right now.
I think I've seen it on eBay.
Yeah,
but
probably.
I don't have a big set of them, but I actually might have some.
And the current owner of this magazine actually still publishes it every once in a while, and he's the He's like, he used to be the president of the German Weightlifting Federation,
Okay.
like 10 years ago or something. Yeah, funny.
So what I've been doing for the last, by the way, do we have enough time?
We got
we still have a couple
5.
minutes.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes left, and I got
So-
two more questions.
Oh,
But
okay.
just to wrap this up. So
All right.
go ahead.
So what I've been doing for a long, long time now is every once in a while I go through those magazines.
Yeah.
I take pictures of the result. And I have another company that I send them to who does data entry and puts them into essentially like CSV file for me.
Yeah.
And so I have thousands of meets at this point that are in CSVs, but have never been like imported into like a real central database.
Yeah.
And so part of my plan is to import all of these over time. And so you'll be able to see like, you know, oh, some, you know, let's say like, you know, German weightlifter from like the 70s, and you'll be able to see the results at all sorts of, you know, meets, basically.
So valuable.
And so it's going to be cool. Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of cool statistics that we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a lot of things I didn't even know. Like, what percent would you say is about normal for like a third clean and jerk in a competition like this? What percent throughout the whole meet do you think is made?
30?
It's actually pretty close. It's a little higher, but it's like now obviously every meet's different, but
Yeah.
like a lot of the meets I'm looking at are like 36
Okay.
or something like that. So it's kind of like an interesting thing to kind of like look at that and
Yeah.
being able even to analyze countries.
Absolutely.
Like what country that has, and when I say participation, I'm talking about when one athlete weighs in, that's considered to be a participation.
Yep.
So one of the things we'll be able to do is say like, okay, if you have 100 or 200 or 300 participations as a country, once you're in that like level of, you know, involvement, who has the most bomb outs, like percentage-wise?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this country bombs out at like 15%. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, or like this country goes, you know, does this, does that. It's going to be some interesting data. I don't want to go into too much detail. I want to give away all of my ideas because I got some more like.
Don't
I would
do
say
that.
like,
don't do that. But
yeah.
this sounds really exciting. Not just for a fan, but this is actual data science you're doing here. But
Yeah.
cool. Just to wrap this up, 2 questions. What does the travel schedule of Nat during a year, post-pandemic or pre-pandemic, look like?
It depends a bit on the year. You know, like this year, I actually had very little travel until Greece for Junior Worlds.
Okay.
I went to the Arnold in Ohio for, you know, that was basically a long weekend. And then it was Greece. Now I have this one. I'll be home for, you know, 3 weeks, and then I'm going to Las Vegas for US Nationals. Then I'll be home for another 3 weeks, and I'm going to Colombia, or even less than 3 weeks, going to Colombia for Pan Ams. And then I have a bit of a break, and I'm skipping some meets and stuff like that.
So it's always like 3 weeks at home, 3 weeks away, 3 weeks at home.
It depends.
This or that. It depends.
It depends because, like I said, before Greece,
So like on
before
average,
Greece, I was home the whole start of the year from, you know, basically from when I got back from Worlds, which was mid-December. From then until Greece, I was only gone for 4 days. And that was like 5 months.
So what you guess on average, how much percentage-wise, how many days will you be staying at home and how many days will you be
I would say
attending weightlifting meets?
in a typical year, I'm probably gone between 2 and 3 months.
Okay.
Something like that, you know.
Cool.
I try to not go to every little thing. Like, for instance, Pablo, who's here doing a lot of the shooting for me, like he'll go to stuff like Euro Youth, Euro Juniors. Maybe he'll even go to Asian Youth and Juniors in Tashkent this year, just because it would be impossible for me to keep
Run the
going
business.
U.S. Europe, U.S. Europe, U.S. Europe. It's just it's a little too much to do that for every meet. Even what I do is a fair bit. but like, yeah, it would just be too much. So,
Okay.
and I have people in the U.S. also who help me with things like
Yes.
Pan Am Youth, Pan Am Junior, stuff
Makes
like
sense.
that. So.
All right. To wrap this up in just 30 seconds to 1 minute, what does the future, let the database decide, what does the future of the Hookgrip brand, product-wise, what does the future look like? What does your vision look like?
I would like to do more training gear, like things that you would actually wear in training other than like a t-shirt. And so training gear is a big thing. I would also, once we kind of have that, kind of well established, possibly get into like customized team singlets, stuff like that, kind of like more into the things that you would wear while lifting. And of course, I'm always looking to improve and build out product lines. Like right now, we only have one type of wrist strap. Now we have like Velcro and we have different closure, but we just have one type of wrist strap. So I want to get that into, there's arguably like 5 or even more common types of wrist straps. So I would like to expand our product lines so it'll be kind of more inclusive. Like for instance, right now we only have leather belts.
Yep.
We don't have Velcro. So I would like to get into more of that and different variants of, this one's tapered, this one's straight, this one's like that, this one's like that. These types of straps, like some are, sewn like this, some are sewn like this, some are sewn like that. Yeah. And so just more variants of products, I would say, and the training gear is kind of my primary focus with regards to products.
Great.
And of course, always trying to improve quality and this, that, and more customization options, stuff like that.
Nat, that was a really, really interesting conversation, and I guess our audience will find this very valuable and very interesting, and it was nice that you took your time.
Of course.
Thanks a lot for that, and
thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's go to the meet.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Cool.
Das war's jetzt mit dem Interview von Nat. Ich hoffe, das hat euch gefallen. Ich bin aktuell schon wieder am Packen für eine Europameisterschaft. Diesmal geht's nach Bulgarien, nach Sofia für ein paar Tage. Ich werde Lisa, meine Freundin, begleiten und anfeuern und werde da hoffentlich wieder Nat sehen. Das heißt, falls euch das Interview gefallen hat und ihr vielleicht weitere Fragen habt, vielleicht findet man ja die Zeit, nochmal zusammenzusitzen und ein weiteres Interview zu machen. Bis dann.